Obviously, after we put the film to bed, super excited about not just obviously the results of the game, but just the things we had to go through to get there. Right, like I talked a little bit about it after the game about it's not what happens, it's how you react to what happens, and I thought just the awareness of our staff to make some adjustments, the comprehension of our players to make those adjustments, and the communication to make it all unfold in front of us is really awesome. I want to say thank you to all the fans that showed up. I know that the crowd was pretty spirited on behalf of the Fighting Illini, and to do that in a road game is pretty awesome. So thank you to everybody that showed up there and made that possible. Super excited to get here this weekend. Western Michigan team obviously came close to getting a W on Saturday, and really both games. In the first game against Michigan State, I think it was 21-0 at the half. They didn't give up any points in the second half, gave up a safety, right? So I just think this crew is going to present a good challenge for us to come in here, and I know we're going to get their best shot. Hopefully we're going to take another step forward. Game 3, opportunity number 3. From an injury standpoint, I know Dylan Rosiak and Aiden Lawford didn't finish the game, but they weren't just eliminated. It was a decision that we made at that time for where they're at. So very good chance we could have them on Saturday. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but they're not out of the game yet at all. So we'll see where those two guys end up. And Jaheim Clark, outside chance for Saturday. Don't know if he'll be back with us yet, but do expect him the following week to be with us. So got some guys to go through some things. We did play a long game, 4-quarter game. It was very hot there, so I think we got to be really smart on our front end here. Really put a lot of stress on our support staff with hydration, recovery, soft tissue, everything yesterday, everything today to hit the practice field tomorrow. So we'll be there, and obviously a night game here in Memorial Stadium. Hopefully that crowd will be amped up, excited. Got the day to prepare themselves as well, and see where that one goes. So with that, open up for questions.
Bret, when you were recruiting Hank Beatty out of Rochester, what sold you on him when you met with Derek? And
so it was kind of full circle for me. I met Derek when Derek was a small person, right? Young person, I should say, and so that was kind of exciting for me because I'd known his dad, right? To know Ken, and then to have a player pop up so quickly at Rochester, and to have the accolades. And then once I saw the film, I didn't know where he was going to be, honestly. It was during the Zoom era, so I hadn't really seen him physically in person. Just was super excited the way Derek talked about him, just as, he'd played him at wide receiver, but he also had played him at quarterback. I automatically thought, is this a defensive guy? And to be honest, really coming into fall camp that year, I didn't know exactly where it was going to play out. I did think about defense, but after I saw him catch the ball, he just catches the ball so naturally. And even like that, his run on Saturday, that was kind of up his bag of tricks, because once he's coming at you and you got a couple choices to make, east or west, and to go vertical, I kind of felt good about that, right? He just kind of gave a little bit of, got high with the shoulders, sunk, and then made a move. So he's just really gifted with the ball in his hands, and super excited to see it play out.
What's like this now for him?
I think the more I'm around great players, the great players let the game come to them, and I witnessed this. I heard my coach say it the other day, and it's exactly what Hank Beatty is. He doesn't ever really try to press. Doesn't really try to create something that's not there. He lets the game come to him naturally, and because of that, I think that's kind of his punt return instincts, right? Like I would think when he made his big jump, he had some success in the punt return game, and now that's transcended into everything he's doing. And then just to see the reaction of his teammates, he's just so well liked. He's not a real vocal guy. He speaks actions through what he does, or speaks volume through what he does, and that's been the fun part to watch.
Coach, you're in the top 10 for the first time in a quarter century. I know you don't like these questions, but ask it anyway.
Sure.
Just, what's it mean? Was there any kind of celebration, any kind of acknowledgement yesterday when you found it?
No, I think Bret shot me a text when it came through, like he does every time the polls come out, but it's just kind of part of the process. I always take Sunday to look at college football, so I definitely made our guys aware of it. Obviously, I knew they were aware of it before they came in that meeting, and kind of just real quick, just talk about where we are. But the fact of the matter is, right, like every week is an opportunity to improve, and I really try to focus them in on that. And I thought it kind of came full circle. I had a feeling that you might ask this question today, right? So I thought it was funny. So Josh and I talk pretty much every day, right? And Josh is in Chicago with the athletic directors. So last night we'd been kind of playing phone tag. We sat by each other on a plane, and we're able to kind of have some conversations there. But then he said, "Hey, I'm going to be in Chicago tomorrow night. Let's touch base." And So everything was kind of happening real fast yesterday, just during the course of the day, Sunday, as it always is, and so I don't think we actually ended up connected till it was almost 9 o'clock or so, and we talked about a couple things that were on our radar that we just naturally talk about, a lot of different things, and he goes, "There's something else," and he like said it twice, and I brought up some other things, and then he said, "Oh yeah," he goes, "Hey, you're ranked in the top 10, congrats," and I kind of laughed, and he laughed because like it really wasn't a part of our conversation. I think that kind of just. Obviously, very excited, and it's a lot of great things out there for people to talk about. I know even just that crowd on Saturday, right? Like to hear that many people, and I know that's not by chance. I know that people are excited about Illinois football, and I think that's a good thing. And just by the judge of requests that Bret's come to me with, from a media standpoint, the people that want to talk to us. I think Luke's going on their own show, right? Like just fun for those guys to have those fun things as well. But I really do think these guys are all about the game in front of them.
What kind of history do you have as a coach against Western Michigan? It seems like their playing style is a little different than you think of when you think of Western Michigan.
Yeah, I have really a lot of respect for Coach Taylor. He, I love his story just because former walk-on at Alabama. I was a former walk-on, right? And to earn the position that he is, and then to see his coaching position or see his coaching resume, and knew some people that knew him and in the profession, and have had a chance now to be around him a couple different times. Just super impressed with who he is, what he is. That first year putting in his program, his style, and to go last year to a bowl game and see the growth of the program, and it's very apparent on film once you pop it on. I started watching them last February when we were diving into our new opponents that we hadn't seen. So super respectful, play really good complementary football. I think what they do offensively, defensively, special teams, you see it all kind of makes sense the way they play. So a tremendous challenge on Saturday.
Saturday about being multiple on offense in terms of just personnel and using players. Just what do you feel like you've done maybe through development or through other roster building to be in a place where you can have that option?
Yeah, the key for us is just getting that tight end room up. We tried to build that ever since I got here, and honestly was really excited about Tip left a year earlier than I thought he was going to leave, right? So we kind of got shortchanged right when I thought we were going to build that one up. But the development of that room has been very impressive. I thought Cole Rusk, to see him get that opportunity to get that shot and to have him and Luke connect and see other people see that was a really good thing. I think the play where Luke kind of got around the edge and to see Stoffel out in front of him taking on a DB, it just kind of shows it. I think everybody just thinks he's a big dude that plays inline tight end, but he runs extremely well. Very talented. And coach's son, right? He got all the ingredients to make it. Christian Abney, again, was with Coach New at Ball State, and we were really excited to get him in the program. Jordan Anderson's continued development. The depth at wide receiver, really the depth at running back. It's allowed to do a lot of different things. Speaking of Western Michigan, they're a pretty balanced 11 and 12, right? They're literally almost 50-50 between those two personnel groupings. So defensively, you have to focus on multiple personnel groupings. Same thing that people are going to have to do against us.
Spent some time in spring and fall camp talking about right guard. Are you stable there? Do you feel like you guys are steady?
Yeah, I thought Brandon Henderson definitely took a step from last week to this week. And I tell you, Behan, like I grabbed him during fall camp one day, and I'm like, man, I've had a lot of guards get really good college accolades and also have a chance to play in the NFL. And I said to Brendan, I said, like, hey, man, like you literally have as good a talent as any player I've had at that position. It's just you got to decide when you want to use it and maximize it. And I thought last week was a little bit of a good step in the right direction. It was a hot game, and he's a big boy, right? Like I think he really just needed to have that transition from adolescence to adulthood, and hopefully that kind of happened. I think he does like playing next to him and Melvin, obviously two East St. Louis guys. I was on the phone today with Coach Sunk earlier and talking about his three East St. Louis guys, and I know there's a pride to that with those two. So, I thought he's made a step in the right direction. I thought Des Schuster came in and did some really nice things for us. Continue to be very impressed with him and his athleticism, his size, his range. And, he's had a lot of reps during fall camp once he's got acclimated because, obviously JC was out and then Melvin was out for a little bit, so he got a lot of good quality reps. But and I tell you, Brandon Hanson, again, there's little steps with him, right? He's probably one of our most powerful big guys. And again, he's just got to kind of put it all together. But those two guys have been really good. And then we've actually been repping T.J. McMillan at a guard as well. He popped in there. Josh Kreutz got hurt. Not got hurt. His helmet popped off, so we had to pop in there. And then we put him in some of those bigger packages as well.
I know Jamo's going to play a lot of D linemen, but when you were brought or saw Eli Conan on tape,
Yeah,
kid
Conan.
from D2, did you think he would have this kind of big an impact through 2 weeks of the
Yeah,
season?
Eli was really impressive. So the true story there, his high school coach, I coached his son at Wisconsin, and then when Eli got in the portal, I got a call, ran him through Coach Kiefer, and his son Dan Kiefer is the head coach, and Jake was the guy that played for me, and he reached out and he said, "Hey, Brett, I got a kid getting in the portal. I know his film's on Huddle." So I had a moment, so I kind of quick just got a phone and popped it on, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And then by the time I called him, A&M had already sent him on a visit. So we did what we needed to do to get him on campus. And I think even J-Mo liked his film, but then when you see him and he walks in the door, and then I would say even on the practice field the first day, he's got some twitchiness. He's athletic. He bends really well. He's really long. I'm super excited. He's a guy that's got 3 years. I'd say the guy that really – for me, took a step on Saturday, and we've been seeing it develop. James Thompson literally played every position on the defensive line. His high football IQ, awareness, intellect, his motor, I know Aaron talked about him last week, just a really impressive kid. And Tommy, I know he had to reach in the face mask there early, but, he's a really explosive player, dynamic. It was funny, I was talking to James. So James was committed to us, and then when we had Tommy commit to us, I had to talk James off a cliff because he was thinking we were bringing in too many D linemen, and I was sitting in the kind of conversation last night going, aren't you glad Tommy's here now? Because, anytime you have one good end, it's good, but when you have two, it's even better, right? Because they can't do things protection-wise, so it's fun to see those guys grow.
Coach, when you have guys come in and get kind of limited snaps, but they make the most of it, a guy like Tanner Hackle or Conan, I know you do, but do you take a close look at that and hey, maybe this guy or that guy needs a few more snaps?
Yeah, so we were there on the headset, and we were getting a little bit thin at corner, and they were going to put Tanner in a corner, and I just said to Aaron and to Corey, I said, hey, why don't we? I like the idea of that, but I like the idea. Let's put Tanner inside and put Xavier out, and they're both like, yeah, let's do that, let's roll, and 20 plays later, he had a punch out, an interception, and his best play of the day was literally on the first muff punt. He was down there. T-Strain kind of made it happen. But the way the ball came out, the ball was bouncing right into one of their players, and he reached in and slapped it out of that guy's hands, and it went right to T-Strain. So for the point of the game where that one was at, it was a really big play. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got that recovery. So he's just super awareness. Eli subbing in there, even just a little thing, but we ran some heavy O-line packages to get those guys in there last week. Even though there was only, half a dozen snaps, they were in critical moments. Those things are invaluable for when they pop up. And then, a guy that's just, I had a feeling last week Khalil Valentine was going to have a breakout kind of moment. We've all seen it, kind of felt it, but I just felt during the course of the week, the way they were kind of wired and the way he's kind of wired, I could see, one of those big plays happening. It's exactly the way it unfolded.
What have you learned about your run game?
Was I worried about?
What have you learned about your run game the first 2
Yeah,
weeks?
well, I think it all starts with what we're doing up front, right? And obviously they were doing some really vertical things in the defensive line game that really stopped us from getting on the edges, at least on some of the outside zone tracks. I thought Bart and the offense staff made a really nice adjustment going to the inside zone. I think Caden is kind of what we thought, right? He's a downhill vertical guy that is a very powerful guy, and then Aiden would come in and have a nice changeup, and then Khalil's just kind of a different level than all three of those guys. And I've said, I coach linebackers my entire inside backers, and it's really hard to have a linebacker not get ahead of plays, especially when you run inside outside zones. And I think that's a commonality that we'll just continue to find during the course of the year. That's something hard for defensive guys to set up and understand. So I like where it's at, and then I think the part that really I thought we were just a little bit off on the accuracy in the first half, and Luke addressed that, and obviously made a great transition in the second half. But I think once you do that in combination with the RPO game, the more our runs look like passes or our passes look like runs, that's when you got something going.
During camp,
One more after this.
During camp, you talked about how your night practices in the stadium as prep for Western and on the grass as prep for Duke. Can you do that? I mean, you have 2 night games coming up. Can you do that, or is class schedules mess with that now? Or,
yeah,
or do you prep for night?
No, I think at this point we're pretty much locked into AM class because of class. We do sometimes sneak in some Sunday night practices and have in the past done a Monday night practice, but that's kind of just to feel where we are and what we're doing. So those guys got a lot of reps under the lights, and I think once that exposure's been there, I think the execution of practice outweighs what time and where it's at. But yeah, it's definitely something we make our guys aware of.
Depending on Dylan's availability Saturday, is Malachi a guy who has versatility for both inside linebacker spots? And if so, what do you like about him?
Yeah. Malachi played his highest volume. I think he took over 40 snaps at linebacker, and then he took, he starts on at least 2 phases of our kicking game. So he was a guy it was fun. I don't know where you guys are staying, but our hotel, we had all of our parents there, right? And the way the hotel was set up, I had to walk through the lobby every meeting we went to, which is good and bad, right? But I usually see Malachi's mom and dad. Mom's just got this infectious smile and personality, dad, and they were there with Jordan Anderson's mom and dad, and I walked up to him. I believe it was Friday later night, going to my the night meeting at 8:00, and I kind of beeline towards them because that day we had a personnel meeting on Wednesday, and I couldn't believe those guys are in their junior years, right? Like those guys when we recruited them, and both of them kind of coming into their element now. They both had some injuries to persevere through, but 2 guys that were recruited out of Joliet Catholic there that was just really, really cool to see their development. And that was the most snaps that Malachi had taken, but he plays inside, outside. You saw him, we played him up on the line of scrimmage. He's just so, he doesn't say boo. He just lines up and does his work. An incredibly quiet, confident kid that is really fun to see him grow and do things. And then Jordan just really starting to come into his own. It's pretty awesome to watch it. We moved him around. Rob Disher was talking about how he literally moved Jordan into a position where he was listed as a 3 on kickoff coverage of 3 different spots. So he's kind of going through it with him. And Jordan just said, I got it. I'm a 4, right? He knew the position and just yep, good, we got it, right? It's just one of those moments you really feel excited about the guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it, fellas.